A crying little girl ran up to the Hells Angels shouting, "He won't let me see Grandma," and what they uncovered next changed the entire town forever. This is the moment the entire bar went silent, and the Hells Angels stood up as one. Now begin the storytelling voice. Asterisk, asterisk, crying girl ran to the Hells Angels. "He won't let me see Grandma." What they found changed everything. Asterisk, asterisk, rain hammered the streets of Dust Devil's bar like 1,000 angry fingers. The neon sign flickered. The rumbling of Harley engines echoed off the old brick walls, and the whole town knew better than to step foot near the place when the Hells Angels were gathered. Inside, it was loud, boots, laughter, clinking bottles, but underneath it all, there was an atmosphere of brotherhood. Reaper, the massive, grey-bearded biker whose presence could silence an entire street, leaned forward over the bar counter. His vest read Hells Angels, Nomads. People said he had survived more fights than he could remember and had protected more strangers than anyone ever. Admitted he was sipping his beer when something unusual happened. The bar door slammed, open wind roared through like a ghost, and then a tiny silhouette appeared, a little girl maybe 8 years old, drenched in rain, shivering violently, cheeks streaked with tears. Every biker turned. Reaper slowly placed the beer down. The little girl stumbled forward, crying so hard she could barely breathe. "Please, help me," she sobbed. The entire bar froze. The jukebox stopped mid-dash song. Every leather-clad biker stared. Reaper stood up, towering over her like a mountain. But instead of anger, his eyes softened. He knelt down. "What happened, sweetheart?" he asked, voice deep but gentle. The little girl gasped, clutching his vest tightly. He won't let me see Grandma," she cried. "And Grandma, she's sick. She needs me." Reaper's jaw clenched all. The bikers exchanged glances. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Who won't let you see her?" Reaper asked. The girl wiped her tears with her soaked sleeve. "Mr. Thomason. He locked her in the house. He said visitors aren't allowed." She sobbed harder. "But he's lying. Grandma's scared of him. Please help." Reaper slowly rose to his full height. The room shifted. The angels stood up. All of them. Reaper turned to his brothers. "Mount up." The engines outside roared like thunder, and the girl, still trembling, was gently lifted onto the back of Reaper's Harley. "Don't worry," he said. "We're gonna fix this." The entire street shook as a dozen Harleys lit up the night. Asterisk, the girl who broke down the angels' walls. Asterisk, her name was Emily Carter. 8 years old. A fragile voice, tiny hands, and a heart bigger than the world deserved. As Reaper rode with her holding on tightly, her sobs quietly shook his back. He could feel it, the fear. He had seen enough wounded souls in his life to recognize real danger. The other angels formed a protective circle around Reaper's bike. Their headlights cut through the rain. Emily shouted over the wind, "Grandma lives in the blue house at the end of Maple Street. Please hurry." Reaper revved the engine. Maple Street wasn't just any street. Everyone in town knew who lived there. Mr. Richard Thomason, a man with power, money, a retired city official, a man whose smile hid something rotten. And he hated bikers. Especially the angels. Reaper growled softly, "Hold on, kid. We'll get you there." Emily's little fingers gripped him tighter. And Reaper, the man who feared no battle, felt something strange. A protective feeling, a fatherly feeling, something he hadn't felt in decades. The House of Secrets. When the angels turned into Maple Street, silence fell. The blue house stood at the end, partially lit, with one window glowing faintly. Emily pointed frantically. "Grandma's room is the upstairs one. The light is dim because she's not allowed to turn it brighter." Reaper's brow furrowed. The girl wasn't lying. Fear was dripping from her voice. They parked their Harleys, engines rumbling long after they shut them off. Emily jumped off and ran to the porch, but stopped before knocking. "He'll yell at me. He always does." Reaper put a heavy hand on her shoulder. "Let me do the yelling." He banged on the door. Loud. The sound shook the whole street. Inside, quick footsteps approached, and the door opened just a crack. Mr. Thomason appeared, tall, pale, sharp, dash-eyed. His smile fake. "Well, if it isn't the local criminals," he sneered. "What do you want?" Reaper didn't blink. "She says you're keeping her from her grandma." Thomason's eyes darted to the girl. "She's lying. Her grandmother is sick. Visitors will disturb her." Reaper leaned forward. "You denying us entry?" "This is my property," Thomason snapped. And you bikers have no right to. Before he could finish, a soft, hoarse voice floated down from upstairs. Emily, Emily, sweetheart, is that you? The little girl gasped. That's Grandma, she cried, tears spilling again. Thomason's eyes widened. Angry, Richa shoved the door open with one giant hand. Thomason stumbled backward. You don't tell a child. She can't see her dying grandmother. Reaper growled. The angels entered like shadows. Emily ran upstairs. Reaper followed. What they found would stay with them forever. Grandma's truth, *. The upstairs bedroom smelled of medicine, stale air, and sadness. An old woman, frail, thin, barely able to lift her head, was lying on the bed. Her eyes lit up when she saw Emily. Oh, sweetheart, she whispered, lifting a trembling hand. Emily rushed into her arms, crying into her chest. Reaper watched, fists clenched. What's going on here? He asked gently. The grandmother, Helen Carter, blinked through tears. He won't let me see anyone, not even her. Her voice cracked. He says it's for my health, but he takes my pension. He takes money from my account. She stopped, scared. Reaper's face darkened like a storm. Thomason appeared in the doorway, sweating now. You don't know what she's talking about. She's confused, old, sick. But Helen shook her head violently. I'm not confused. He locks me in. He takes my phone. He keeps Emily away. The angels exchanged looks. This wasn't just neglect. This was abuse. And the girl. She had run through the rain to strangers because no adult would listen. Reaper turned toward Thomason. You're done. Thomason attempted to push back. You have no authority. I'll have you arrested. Angel members formed a wall behind Reaper. You're welcome to try. Helen held Emily tightly, crying into her hair. Thank you. Thank you for coming, sweetheart. Reaper knelt beside them. Nobody should keep family apart, ever. Thomason tried one final lie. She's exaggerating. The girl's emotional because her mother is. He didn't finish. Emily stiffened. Reaper turned slowly. What about her mother? Thomason swallowed. Helen closed her eyes in pain. She passed away 2 years ago, she whispered. My daughter, my Emily's mother, she died in that house. And Thomason never once let Emily stay here after. Emily's tears fell again. Reaper's blood boiled. He stood up. Get him downstairs. He said that the angels didn't hesitate confrontation. The living room was dimly lit. Thomason was forced into a chair, shaking now. You bikers will pay for this. I have connections. I have money. You're nothing but. Reaper slammed a fist on the table. Finish that sentence. I dare you. Silence followed. Angel members searched the house. What they found made everything crystal clear. Locked cabinet with Helen's documents, credit cards missing, pension papers altered, withdrawal slips with shaky signatures, a hidden safe containing $18,000 in cash. Looks like elder abuse with financial fraud. One biker muttered. Another added, this guy's cooked. Thomason's face turned white. Reaper stared into his soul. You kept a little girl from the only family she had left. I was protecting. Reaper held a hand up. No lies. Just answer one question. His voice dropped to a deadly whisper. Why? Thomason's lips trembled. Because she ruined my plans. The old woman was supposed to die months ago. The house would be mine. Everything would be mine. Emily, standing behind Reaper, gasped. You wanted her to die. He froze. Reaper's fists tightened. You're done. The biker growled. They tied Thomason's hands. They didn't beat him. Didn't yell. Didn't threaten. They simply made sure he couldn't hurt anyone anymore. That's enough, Reaper said. Call the sheriff. But the sheriff doesn't like us, one biker warned. Reaper smirked. He hates Thomason more. Justice arrives when Sheriff Douglas arrived. He looked irritated until he stepped inside and saw Helen's condition. Jesus, what happened? Helen explained everything. Emily hugged her tightly. Reaper handed the sheriff the documents. The sheriff's face turned dark. Richard Thomason, you're under arrest for elder abuse, fraud, theft, unlawful confinement, and endangerment. Thomason screamed as he was dragged out. You can't do this. They broke into my house. They're criminals. The sheriff simply said, No, Richard. Tonight, they're the heroes. Emily held Reaper's hand. Are you my hero? Reaper looked at the tiny girl whose courage had shaken an entire biker gang. No, he said softly. You're the hero, kiddo. You ran through a storm to save your grandma. Emily smiled for the first time. A new beginning. The angels didn't leave. They stayed. They cleaned Helen's house, bought her groceries, helped fix the broken heater, installed a better lock, arranged medical care, and made sure she'd never be alone again. Emily followed Reaper everywhere, talking non-stop, asking questions, laughing again. She drew little pictures of Harleys and handed them to the bikers. One picture had Reaper with a giant beard and angel wings. Reaper hung it inside Dust Devil's bar. The angels may have looked intimidating, but around Emily, they were teddy bears. The truth behind Emily's tears one afternoon. Reaper found Emily sitting on the porch. Quiet, thoughtful. He sat beside her. "You okay, kid?" She nodded slowly. "I was just thinking, if you guys weren't there, Grandma might have." Her voice broke. "I didn't know who else to ask." Reaper placed a hand on her shoulder. "You asked the right people." Emily leaned against him. Will you still visit us?" Reaper looked toward the brothers polishing their bikes across the street. "Your family now, Emily, whether you like it or not." She giggled softly. The sound warmed every biker's heart. Grandma's last wish. Weeks passed. Helen got healthier. Emily became happier. The angels visited weekly, but one day, Helen called Reaper into her room. Her voice was weaker. She held a hand out. "Thank you for saving us." Reaper shook his head. "You did the raising. She's brave because of you." Helen smiled faintly. "There's one thing I want you to promise. Anything. When I'm gone, don't let Emily feel alone. She needs strength. She needs family." Reaper's throat tightened. He squeezed her hand. She have a whole army behind her. Helen closed her eyes peacefully. The day she left. Helen passed away 3 months later, peacefully, in her sleep, holding Emily's hand. The funeral was small, but every Hell's Angel stood in the cemetery, heads bowed, leather vests gleaming under the sun. Reaper placed a single white rose on Helen's coffin. Emily cried softly. Reaper knelt and hugged her tight. "With here, always." Her tiny arms wrapped around his neck. "I love you," she whispered. Reaper swallowed hard. "I love you too, kiddo." Emily rides after the burial. Reaper lifted Emily onto his Harley. She held on. The engine roared. For the first time, she smiled while crying. "Grandma would have loved this," she whispered. Reaper nodded. "She's watching." They rode through the town. People stepped aside. Bikers rode behind them in perfect formation, a protective shield. Emily felt safe. For the first time in her life, the legend of the crying girl. Years passed. Emily grew, stronger. Bolder. Wiser. Everyone in town remembered the night a crying little girl ran into a biker bar and changed the angels forever. Reaper became like a father to her. Other bikers became her uncles. Dust Devil's bar became her second home. And whenever someone whispered, "Bikers are dangerous," Emily would step up and say, "They saved my life." The story spread. People learned, never judge a biker by his vest, judge him by his heart. Now that you've heard Emily's story, a story of courage, love, and the true brotherhood of the Hells Angels. If you love the Hells Angels, share this video with your friends. Help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe to Bikers Hype right now. Comment your name for the next story. Your support keeps these stories alive. Ride with us. Stand with us. Be part of the brotherhood.